Hi guys, and welcome to the Sage Rises and Lionheart's second podcast. It's been a while since our first podcast, but hopefully, with perseverance, we can actually start getting these out on a weekly basis and perhaps introducing some new members to the podcast, which should be good.
Hello, Lionheart here, and I'm going to go through the topics this time, and I should first note off that I think we've sorted out Sage's mic problem, or issues. You should be able to hear him without it blasting through your speakers. So, the topics this time, we're going to do, first of all, main topic is just a recap on the comments that you left us in our last podcast, which is mainly focusing around the topic of what the next Total War could be. While we're not going to go through our views because they were done in the last podcast, and we're not going to linger too much on this, there were some very interesting ones which we'll go through in a moment. Following on from that, we're just going to briefly talk about how we're both finding Shogun 2. I mean, it's been out about 4 months now. There's been some major patches, including the introduction of DirectX 11. Multiplayer is still very strong, and there are some mods coming out for it now, tweaks to the game code, etc., and AI. Then going to move on to look just briefly at Steam, because the last 10 days they've had the summer sales on. So for all those Steam haters out there, this was the perfect opportunity for Steam to redeem itself in your eyes. I myself bagged a couple of deals. Then, pretty much to finish off the podcast, we're going to ask you who you'd like us to have as our guest for our third podcast, which should be in about a week and a half's time, depending on how long it takes us to contact said person if they're interested. So let us know. Basically, kind of the parameters for who it could be is just another one of the large sort of Total War commentator, the greats, as it were. And either they could be a full guest on the podcast and chat about topics as well, or we can do an interview with them. So if it's going to be an interview, give us some questions you'd like us to interview them with, and yes, leave their name, etc. But we'll go over that. We'll go over that again at the end of the podcast. So I'll just go through the first few topics, and we'll get Sage thinking about what we think of these. I mean, quite a lot of people. This comes up again on plenty of forums as well. Fantasy Total War.
I think there's so many different fantasy games out there at the moment on the RTS format, but I can't see it working, if I'm honest.
To be honest, this is where mods come in. I mean, I am addicted to... Well, no, yes, okay, I'm a Lord of the Rings addict. Okay, I put my hand up. Lord of the Rings Anonymous. You've seen my posters in my vlogs and what have you. I play the fabulous Third Age mod for Medieval 2 Kingdoms, and that is superbly done. Of course, I'd love to see a fully optimized Lord of the Rings Total War from the Creative Assembly, but unless they decide to go that way or get rights to the films and stuff like that, I think this is pretty much the closest we'll ever get, and it is fantastic. Other fantasies, there are quite a few other mods out there for both Rome and Medieval 2 worth checking out. I think it always comes... It's quite dangerous with the series when it's tried to be, to a degree, historically accurate. Because there's no argument that the Total War games aren't 100% historically accurate. I think I remember reading an article that the Creative Assembly said that they've never actually striven to create 100% accurate games, because it would just be pretty much impossible to create content that would be as wide-ranging as the series is at the moment. But I mean, I think it's pretty much... It's either it's a hit or it isn't. Going fantasy with your game genre. I mean, if anyone played the Stronghold series, they brought out Stronghold Legends, which was pretty much kind of an updated version of Stronghold 2. And for me, that kind of killed the series. I didn't particularly enjoy it that much.
I think it killed itself. Yeah, I used to play them as a kid as well, and it killed itself with that one. Really.
Yeah, I mean, I'm ridiculously excited for Stronghold 3 later this year, which should be a lovely. Apparently, it's meant to be going back to the sort of the basics and the mechanics of the first one, but with the updated graphics of sort of 2 and above, pretty much.
Yeah, I'll be definitely doing a Let's Play on that then. That'll be really good.
Yes, I will definitely be doing at least a video on that or something, or probably maybe no videos because I'll be off playing Stronghold 3. Another one that was brought up and that seems again quite popular, I think it's following on from that we've been to Japan in Shogun 2, is Seven Kingdoms, China, the Warring States.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with that history, so you're going to have to leave that one.
Oh, Nor am I. I mean, I know nothing about this Sengoku Jedi, which is the period that Shogun 2 set in. I know nothing about Chinese history, to be honest, apart from watching Mulan as a child.
Yeah, that's pretty the same for me.
That is
Shogun's
the
fine, but
basis.
that's like
Yeah, that is the basis of my Chinese history. Which is pretty poor, to be honest. I mean, the closest I've ever been to Hong Kong. Going out doesn't really count for much, but I wouldn't mind China warring states or Seven Kingdoms, because again, that would be an interesting way to get me interested in the history. But to be honest, I think the consensus is that not as many people are interested in sort of Shogun and sort of possibly a China warring states as they are in the European setting. What do you think?
not at all. Not at all. I mean, I started out Shogun 2, my first campaign, and within the third video, I got people dropping out saying, "Sorry, Sage, I'm just not interested in this era at all, or not interested in the game at all." It really doesn't have as much positive feedback as the European titles.
Yeah, so I found that. I mean, people are enjoying it. I haven't been able to get out as many of my Takeda campaign videos as I'd like, but now I've got my new schedule up, a video each day at least for each game, as it were. But I think it does it. I think it's a love-hate relationship with Shogun 2. You have to work at it, and I mean, I'll go into a bit more with how we're getting on with Shogun 2 and that topic a bit later. But yeah, it grows on you, I think. Yeah, I would be interested to see a China warring states, but I think
that could be a mod of Shogun. Like, I don't think they need to release a whole game.
Perhaps even expansion, a large-scale one on the size of sort of kingdoms that it used to be. Rather than it being just solely little DLC add-ons. I mean, the Peninsula campaign for Napoleon, while it did add sort of quite a few, maybe even 100 hours worth of extra gameplay, it's not even on a comparable scale with what Kingdoms added for Medieval 2.
Yeah.
So I think if they're going to do a campaign, I think they should really no strings, just go for a massive expansion, which would be nice, or a massive DLC pack. Which again, people go, oh, but the thing is about DLC, it's only sort of a couple of quid, a couple of dollars. It's cheap, and you can just add in a couple of extra units. I wouldn't honestly mind paying sort of £14-15 for a massive expansion like Kingdoms.
I'd really like an expansion, because I don't want them to, say, work on a whole new game, because it takes them a whole new year to get a new one out. Yeah, DLCs, they're working on that alongside the main game, which is going to be, whatever's going to come up this year or next year. It's going to be next year.
Yes. Well, moving on from that one, possibly to the European setting then that people were talking about was Victoria Total War, which this actually, I think, is quite a viable option, because from that people were saying, oh, for Victoria Total War you could have the American Civil War as an expansion.
Yeah.
I think that's quite a viable one, and I think there have been plenty of people that I used to play Napoleon games on with Steam, because obviously I've shifted to Shogun 2 as my main Total War. I don't necessarily play Napoleon online battles at the moment.
Yeah.
But I've had plenty of people sort of saying, oh, no, I can't do Shogun, I'm going back to Empire and Napoleon. I think the Victoria Total War would give people a chance to sort of get back to that.
And, well, for a start, it's going to attract audiences from Victoria 2 and the Total War sort of fan base. So I think it'd be a really good move if they actually did something like that, because there's a lot of people that like both titles, and they could sort of merge them together.
I think in a way it would be... Obviously, sorry, no, you continue.
Sorry, obviously within copyright law, not actually copying it or anything, but copying the sort of era and sort of base it stands on.
Definitely. So I would just say that I think it would be a combination of really what... If they went to Victoria Total War, it should aim to be a combination of success between combining Empire Total War and Napoleon Total War. Brand new sort of, well, few years on, as it were, from Napoleon and moving into that age. But with all the bugs and the features that were good and the sort of fixed, just a polished version of sort of that cycle.
Yeah.
Of the modern age. Plus, again, if they could add in Empire's large campaign map, which they should do for Victoria, Total War, India, the United States, possibly have even one more zone. I think Victoria's actually Total War. I don't think I'd actually see many people talk about it before until the video, but I've since found it to be quite a popular sort of option. as the next Total War they'll see, and I think I very much look forward to a Victoria Total War.
Yeah, I think everyone looks forward to a Victoria Total War. I mean, there's so many directions CA can go. It'd be really interesting to see what they go.
I mean,
to be honest, I think safe option.
Yeah.
There you go.
I believe there was someone who commented that sort of say that they couldn't really see where the Total War series could go really anymore, because sort of CA's used up the periods in history. But I remember when they brought out Napoleon, they said that this was just the beginning of a long, what could advance into a long new series of Total Wars, in that they were taking the scope from massive eras to individuals, sort of focusing on Napoleon. So I mean, there could be something for Genghis Khan or something like that.
I think that would work. I think that would really work. I think people would be genuinely interested in something like that. I'd be interested in that for history. Yeah.
I think they said that they want to get that's always an option. That while they've still, and they said there are still plenty of large scoped eras that they can look at and definitely develop. And I'm sure at some point we'll see a Medieval 3 as well, just because there's so much there that they can still explore and go with. But to round that up with this topic of future Total War possibilities, the last two were sort of a Bronze Age Total War. A couple of people posted that, and also a Total War to sort of fit the gap between Medieval 2 and Empire, so sort of a 1500 to 1700. So you're looking at kind of like the I guess Age of Enlightenment, sort of. You've got the Renaissance and sort of technology and science and possibly for one of the first major times in history, moving away from the impact that religion had governed kingdoms and nations previously.
I'd be quite interested in to fill the gap between the two. To be honest, it would sort of make the series more complete from a history perspective, anyway.
But then I guess if they leave that gap, it's something for them to explore and come back to later.
I mean, this series could go on for a long time, if I'm perfectly honest. You look at the history timeline, there's so much they can explore. And you talking about leaders and such that they can focus on. There's so many interesting leaders that I'd love to just play as their civilizations and just dominate the world with and change the way history... I mean, that's what that's what the Total War series is all about, changing history.
Yeah.
And having different leaders and doing stuff like that is just so... it just feels really good when you think about it.
I think the best explanation of what the Total War series was I think it was by one of the CA staff replying to someone who said, why don't you make historically accurate games? And they said, we've never strived to make historically accurate games because we bring the Total War series to a historical accurate sort of plateau and then leave it wide open for you to either, if you want to, try and recreate history, or for you to just blow history apart and carve a new empire or a new way and see what the repercussions of it are, and see how the sort of the shift of a battle map or campaign map changes with your actions, which I think it should be about. It should give you that what if counterfactual option.
Yeah, it should. That pretty much is Total War summed up. It's just the reason why I play it, if I'm perfectly honest. Because it's got no storyline. That's what you're doing. You're creating your own story.
Total War is the counterfactual, the what if. Put the player in the situation. Do you want to follow in the footsteps of Wellington or Napoleon or Kings of England or Crusaders, etc., or do you want to go a completely other way? And well, it's not even going the other way. It's going one of hundreds of ways, to be honest. There's so many possibilities. It's fantastic. Right, I think that pretty much sums up our review of the last podcast comments, and we thank you very much for submitting them. Please, if you can, don't linger too much on new Total Wars, etc. We're kind of done with that topic for now, but we'll move on to the next section, which since we've been talking about Total War so much, we'll quickly go to a different topic entirely, and that is Crysis 2. There is a little bit of a tie-in here, though, to Total War, in fact, Shogun, in that Crysis 2 recently just got its DirectX 11 patch.
Yeah, I've seen it announced.
I've seen the announced trailer. It looks nice. It's full features of tessellation and things like that. I
mean, I'm glad they've done it, because a lot of PC gamers were angered by their slap-happy job of the graphics in
Yeah.
Crysis 2, especially the settings. Which did they ever change the fact that all you had was like good, really good, or really really good? You
Yeah.
couldn't actually modify anything other than that, which really frustrated me.
Now
That's
that
why I
you've
avoided
got,
it.
yeah, now you've got DirectX 11, you've got full access to options and advanced options, things like that. And it's also tweaked options for people with DirectX 9 and 10 systems. But I mean, the worst thing was that pretty much they shipped a game that hadn't advanced from the original Crysis graphically. Which, I mean, well, to be honest, Crysis is still now. People will ask me, oh, how well does, I don't know, when they're asking about PC spec, they'll say, how well does it run Crysis? I mean, it's still the benchmark for many people of whether their graphics card or their computer is powerful enough. Can it run Crysis? And at what settings, etc. And I guess to a degree, yeah, the first Crysis definitely put itself ahead for 3 or 4 years graphically in terms of that nothing else come close to it. But I think that the second one really should have lived up to its nature and pushed the boundaries again. I think they've now maybe done that with DirectX 11, but it depends, I guess, how much damage they've done to the consumer really by not shipping with it. Yeah, I mean,
Well, they carry on.
I mean, there's still plenty of people that are peeved that Shogun didn't ship with DirectX 11, but yeah, I guess it's swings and roundabouts, really.
Well, I think the main problem with Crysis was they were trying to get Crysis 2 to work on a console that had 512 megabytes of RAM. When you're trying to aim for that benchmark, you're not going to make an impressive game. Unless you really have two separate teams developing console and PC, it's going to be a clone that is just a little bit better than the console. And that is the problem with so many games these days.
Indeed, we've once again seen the ugly head of a console port to a degree anyway. But hey, it's, at least I mean I've played through it. The campaign's enjoyable. It's a good addition to the franchise, and well, I guess here's for Crysis 3 really.
Yeah, I mean I haven't really been Crysis too much at all. I was more like admiring the graphics and I was playing it more than anything.
I mean, again, I was using it as part of a benchmark for when I got my new graphics card. To obviously people were like, oh, how's Crysis 2 running? Well, to be honest, Crysis 2 wasn't that demanding, so it ran quite well. So I will be doing at some point a new benchmark with the DirectX 11 patch enabled, and we'll see if that if my graphics card is up to the challenge. But moving back to Shogun 2, just generally sort of how we're both getting on with Shogun 2 4 months after release. I mean, are you still enjoying it? Are there any new features that you found, or new ways to sort of, I don't know, waste away a couple of hours?
Well, I don't want to wreck the podcast really, but I haven't touched it for about 2 months, purely because I was sick of the bugs. I was trying to play multiplayer for weeks with my friends, and I constantly got matchmaking problems and crashing errors and CTD, and then they were saying, oh, it's fixed. And I'm going, no, it's not fixed, because I'm trying to play it and I can't play it. I got so frustrated in the end that I just, with the lack of interest in my campaign and the multiplayer being buggy, I gave up. If that's been fixed now, I'm willing to go back and look at it. But
yeah, it should have been. When was the last time you played it?
2 or 3 months ago, really long time ago.
Probably before the DirectX 11 patch then.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, definitely get on it. There's been substantial work made on it. It's quite a few of the bugs are fixed, and you shouldn't have any of those crashed desktops anymore.
Well, that sounds good. I'll get back into it.
So there you go, guys. Sage is back on Shogun 2. You've heard it here first.
Do they have a multiplayer campaign now?
Do they have a what, sorry?
Multiplayer campaign.
Yeah, the co-op campaign, I think it does work. Some people are still reporting the odd bug getting stuck on a certain turn, but I think for most people it's still working.
Okay. Just be interested.
Yeah. Right, well, I mean, myself, I'm still finding new ways. I think, to be honest, I'm just about getting to the point where I wish there was an all-faction unlock mod. Even though I guess the factions are pretty much generic in unit types, that doesn't bother me too much. I've always liked playing as different factions for their starting positions, because I find that to be the real challenge when playing. That it's the different tactical decisions you make from the beginning that affect the rest of the campaign. But obviously we're looking at a sort of, well, copyright issues, and I'm guessing most factions are locked away for extra DLC packs. Yeah,
sorry, I was just told my brother to shut the Hoover off, so I missed about 2 seconds of that.
I just saying how I wish there was a all faction unlock mod for Shogun 2, but obviously we can't because of legal issues with this one. Yeah, most of them are locked away and hard coded away. I mean, well, I'm not sure if all factions are, or some of the others are going to be an issue for modders to make, or if they just haven't been able to access the files yet. But certainly, you wouldn't be able to unlock the Hattori yet, because that was a special clan one with the limited edition. So apparently there's legal issue there of people unlocking it. But I'm sure that CA will either release it as a DLC for those that don't have it, or perhaps release it in a free update at about the 6-month mark. That's generally when they release sort of a major expansion or more DLC. So, I mean, what's it? It's been 3 months or so, 3 or 4 months since release. So, another sort of 2 months, and possibly end of the summer, we should be looking at some new content for Shogun 2, if not sooner, which is always good to know.
Well, yeah, I mean, if there's any legal issues, I presume it is going to be because CA want to release DLC, and it's probably in the game already. They just don't want people to unlock it.
Yeah,
they want to have it.
I think someone was saying they'd had a nose around the files, and there seems to be a lot of extra stuff in there that just wasn't accessible at the moment. So we'll see. I mean, there's been a lot added to it, but no, I'm still loving the game. I'm still starting up new campaigns all the time, just approaching situations differently, and hopefully be able to get into the swing of things with my Takeda campaign now that I've got 2 videos each week.
It's pretty good. I mean, if there was more interest in Shogun, I'd probably get back into it. It's really hard. I think the whole game is very slow compared to previous titles. Like slow to get into. For some reason, something feels slow about the game. And for that reason, with the lack of interest, I just gave it up because, I don't know, something different about it compared to other Total War titles, and I can't put my finger on it.
I have struggled on it. I still don't really know, but I think I've just played it enough to the point where I start going, I'll start planning out my next Shogun campaign and just go with that. So I think I've sort of cured my not boredom with it, but immersion level with it. I think I've topped it up to the right level now. But right, well, I think we'll move on to our final topic before we go to that last final question, which is have you looked at the Steam deals lately that have been on just the last 10 days?
Yes, I've perhaps spent a bit too much money on the Steam deal.
What have you bought?
I have brought Audio Surf, Amnesia, Hydrophobia Prophecy. Actually, I haven't spent that much. I think I've been holding back because if I really did spend money, I would be spending about £100 on that Steam sale because some things were just insane. I literally just had to not look because I didn't want to buy anything. What did you buy?
Well, I've been very good. The only game I bought was Dawn of War 2 Chaos Rising.
Oh, okay, it's not too bad.
Retribution was on there, but at the moment, just waiting for the next payday. So £13 was all I could afford for the old Chaos Rising there. But I actually just spent the last few days going through its campaign and nearly completed and thoroughly enjoyed myself. But I think that just the reason why I wanted to include this topic was that for people that are just new to Steam or not great fans of Steam and just use it because they have to, because they're forced to with the last 3 Total Wars, this is where Steam comes into its own and you get your money's worth.
Yeah, definitely.
The summer deals and definitely the Christmas deals are superb. I mean, I just had a LAN party on Monday night, and there were 8 of us in total, and Battlefield Bad Company 2 was £5 on the Steam deals.
Really?
We all bought that, downloaded it, and we were on that and Modern Warfare 2 all night. So £5 for Battlefield Bad Company 2 is a superb deal.
It's insane.
You will not find that in the shops, and this is not an advertisement. But yeah, I think it's redeeming qualities for Steam. Steam deals. I mean, I think it's moving away from the whole. It's not like Marmite, you either love it or you hate it. I think it's a love-hate relationship with Steam for some people that still feel it's forced on them. And I mean, arguably it is forced. There is no option to install the game without Steam, but I guess it's for those people to either get to grips with what is the issue for them, whether it's the multiplayer aspect of Steam and certainly like Shogun and Empire and Napoleon, or whether it's just they don't like being connected to the internet all the time because possibly they can't afford it.
I think the main thing is lots of people resell games.
Yes.
Most people I know resell games, and Steam locks it down so you can't resell them.
That's true.
That's what people hate, but I don't. I collect games.
It would perhaps be interesting if they added like a gift used game feature, as it were. Like they put a lock on how much it could be resold for, perhaps, but it would at least allow you to gift the game off to someone else. Which I think they'd be able to implement with certainly some games. It depends what other systems are implemented for saves and accounts and things like that. But I reckon it could be done. Even if they just had to sort of reissue a CD code or something like that to get it going. But yeah, I mean, I've never been a massive one for reselling my games. I've got piles of old cases and stuff, and I like having cases, to be honest. If I can, I try and buy games in boxes rather than digitally. I like to have a manual, even though manuals these days are a poor shadow of what they used to be.
Yeah, they are.
Let's not even go into the difference between, say, Rome's manual compared to Shogun 2's. It's nearly non-existent. But I think it's pretty much time to wrap up. But before we go, who do you guys want us to have as a guest? I mean, in the nicest way possible, we're not just looking for someone who's just started out and wants to do commentaries. We will possibly look into doing something like that in future podcasts. But for now, we'd like to approach one of the other Total War commentators, the large ones, but perhaps Heir of Carthage, or I guess plenty of people are going to say, do Prince of Macedon, get him on here. We will contact him. Whether we actually get him on here is interesting, and we will have an interesting time there, but there's plenty of large. There's
so many to choose from. There's got to be someone that.
Yeah. So I mean, if you are a large Total War commentator watching this podcast, thank you very much for watching. First of all, please do contact us. We'll contact you, and we'll get something together for the next podcast. Whether you'd like to be a guest on here and answer topics all the way through as well, or whether you'd like us to interview them. So let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Also, please do suggest us some topics for the next podcast, things that you'd like us to personally debate and argue about, perhaps things that would even make us have a rather serious argument or debate and things like that, and or even give us a debate and say that I'm on one side of the debate and Sage is on the other, and then we have to argue our points.
That sounds really good.
So exactly, yeah. So give us some ones, and please let us know what you think of the podcast again for the second one. Next one, hopefully, won't put a specific date on it, but we around about a week and a half for the next one. Again, it depends how long it takes us to contact someone as a guest slot or interview slot. So yes, here's Lionheart saying thanks for tuning in. Sage, sign us out.
Okay, guys, see you again soon in the next